I say it every year. Pastor Aaron and I would love to welcome you to Venue Church. I'm Pastor Corey. We are so glad that you have come today. Next week, you don't want to miss next week. We have baptisms coming up. We have baptizing so many people. Bring somebody far from God to that. If you're far from God, you're on the spiritual journey, you need to come to that service. It is incredible to hear the stories of people coming from the same brokenness and trauma you may have come from, but have met Jesus and how everything has changed for them. It's going to be an incredible day. We want you here, but today is a good day. What are we sliding mic stands back there? Is that what we do with them? It's not what we do with them? Oh, Reese. Is that who that is? We love having fun together as a church. I think mostly because 9 years ago we came with 30 broken people, and it was hard. It was heartbreaking at times. There were so many reasons why it was never going to work. The pain that our family was in personally, the nightmare that we were in, even in our marriage. But God has turned it all around. You might come in, you have everything now, but there was a day that we were broken. We were broken, and we said yes, and that's about all that we had. Today is Legacy Sunday, Venue's origin story. I'm even wearing a hat that says Legacy. It's my hat. It was Ludovic's during practice, but it's mine now. I don't know if you want it back after the sweat factory that's happening up here. We are 9 years old, so happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to Venue Church. Happy birthday. It's actually our technical birthday is on New Year's Eve, but we decided to change it because that's what the kids are doing now. We didn't want to be a New Year's Eve baby anymore because after Christmas, we're so tired, we always forget to celebrate our own birthdays, which is dumb. So we're like, we're going to change that. So we announced that on social media. And then I had pastor friends of mine send me a text and say, you can't just like change your birthday. And I'm like, but we did though. So Legacy Sunday is going to be our birthday now. It just seems to work a little better. And you might get a walk into this blessing, but we know where it started, and you are going to see it and hear about it. It's going to be great. Deuteronomy 28, and then I'll let you sit. Deuteronomy 28, this is God's promise to you, no matter what state you come in with, no matter your history, no matter your sin, no matter your trauma. All these blessings will come on you one day. A year from now, everything could be different and accompany you if you obey the Lord your God. If you say yes. If you say yes. You don't have to know the future. You don't have to plan. You just have to say yes today. You will be blessed in the city and blessed in the country. The fruit of your womb will be blessed. That means children. The crops of your land, your dog Daisy, the young of your livestock, the calves of your herds and the lambs of your flocks, your businesses, your careers, your investments, your basket and your kneading trough will be blessed. I don't know what that means. You will be blessed when you come in and blessed when you go out. The Lord will grant you that the enemies who rise against you will be defeated before you. They will come at you from one direction, but will flee from you in seven. Touch your neighbor before you sit and say, come at me, bro. All right, have a seat. Keep playing. The Lord will send a blessing on your barns and on everything you put your hand to. The Lord your God will bless you in the land he is giving you. The Lord will open the heavens, the storehouse of his bounty. We were talking about that last week. Opening the windows of heaven to send rain on your land in season and to bless all the work of your hands. You will lend to many nations, but will borrow from none. That means when we get it right in church, it blesses the city and it blesses the actual economy of the nation. Because the Lord blesses it. The Lord will make you the head, not the tail. If you pay attention to the commands of the Lord your God that I give you this day and carefully follow them, you'll always be at the top, never at the bottom. Well, you're going to hear some stories about the time when we were at the bottom. It'll make you feel good about your life. Do not turn aside from any of the commands I give you today, to the right, to the left, following other gods and serving them. Chad sent me a text that said, I have Kleenexes ready for you this time. And I said, gross. I was preparing this and, I was pretty emotional about just remembering the goodness of God. You remember some of the trauma and the pain, but I look now and I think, oh, it was so worth it. It was so worth it that we said yes to come here 9 years ago. I had a business guy in town one time who was far from God, probably on a spiritual journey like somebody today here. And he said, what's it like starting a church? And I'm like, well, it's like starting a small business, but you got to ask people to come and donate to start it. And you have to ask them to come and work for free. Venue Dream Team. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And the devil's trying to murder you the entire time. He's like, that sounds tough. I'm like, it is tough. It is tough. But God has been with us. You know, we had an amazing adventure along the way, and we've had so much fun. I mean, this is the life that you want. We came here, we had 4 girls. We put in 4 different schools, which was not easy. 4 different schools, but it's always good to have a little extrovert in there. Neela comes a month in, she says to us, Mom and Dad, can we move every year? I met so many new people. I'm like, yeah, you need to talk to Ailish right now because she's having a tough go. Thanks, guys. We weren't even sure we'd survive as a family, let alone a church. But God called us in the middle of that brokenness, and now we're part of a miracle. We got one thing right. You hear it every single week. We came with one sentence and a lot of grit and a lot of determination. That one sentence was this: a life saved is worth everything. Today's the day that we've been waiting for. Some of us, the kingdom builders, but many of you also, we carefully prepare a generous gift, and this is the day that we get to look back at what the Lord has done, and we get to prepare for the generation that is coming next with radical generosity above and beyond what the Lord even asks for. But this is the day that we prepare those gifts, and we remember that we were slaves in Egypt. But the Lord has delivered us, and the Lord has set us free, and the Lord has given us an abundant land. But wherever you are with your journey today, I want to just invite you in, because people came in at different stages, and I might ask you to stand at which stage that you started coming to church. It'll just be fun to see. 9 years ago, we came with all the single ladies. Oh, the single ladies. Layden and Amy were dating at the time. Layden and Jesse actually moved here. I forgot to write the year down, but that would have been 2016. You guys moved here before our family even came here. And Jesse and Layden moved into an apartment across town. You guys got married here. Jesse is probably serving somewhere. He was sitting here in the other service. Jesse somehow got married too. We believe the Lord struck Tia with blindness. Also with her nose blindness, if that's... because Jesse's hideously ugly. You know, it's funny when I say that. That's why I say it. No, these are like little brothers to me, and we make fun of it. You can tell the level of commitment that we have. We would take a bullet for each other. We probably have taken bullets from each other. But God called us together to serve on this mission, and we love each other. But it doesn't mean that Jesse's not hideous. No, I'm just kidding. This is a story I didn't tell Kingdom Builders. I just want to tell the story quick because I said I was going to share a bunch of stories, but I really want to share history with you today. But these guys, you know, Amy said she was going to get paid commission this year. I want to give you a story about what generosity unlocks in your life. She said this is the first year you were going to maybe make a little bit of commission on different jobs. So she said to Layden, I'd like to give the first commission check back to the Lord, like all of it. And so she got a commission check. And she sent the number to Layden to be like, here's what we're giving to the Lord. And 5 minutes later, her boss texts her and says, you know what, I'm just going to pay you commission on the whole fiscal year. I didn't make that up. This is what God has in mind for his kids. He has these surprise blessings. And because they're on Kingdom Builders, they gave the bigger one. They give the bigger check to the church because we remember where we came from. Okay. Let's tell happy stories. You know, every step along the way of sacrifice, every step along the way where the church needs to grow and where somebody far from God needs to come in, there is a call to the children of God to recommit and to re-up. And what you were able to do and the commitment level that got you there, God's like, that's great. And you've reached those people. But if you want to reach the next people, you're going to have to re-up. I'll be with you. I'll provide for you, but you're going to have to do some radical things. You're going to have to sacrifice in big ways, but I will bless you. And then every step along the way, I just feel like there's been so many steps along the way. You guys have been there with us since the first days. We had a statement in the early days because I knew that Canadians like comfort, and so we started saying to ourselves, discomfort is the new comfort. We're like, you don't want comfort anymore. That's boring. Discomfort is the new comfort. And we just kind of started changing the language about how we thought about things. And we like hard things. Like, we do hard things as a church, you know. Our family likes hard things. We like it when it gets tough. And so some of that, but I want to show you, this is where we started in the town that we came from. Can we play this video? This is my dad, Pastor Richard. He's in Cuba right now. Yeah, let's go. 4K. Nothing but the best. That was a stage back then. They're in Cuba right now with some thousands of dollars from you to feed the Cubans, bring the gospel of Jesus there, to buy things that they can't possibly buy. So we love them so much. You know, one of the reasons that we respect them is that they pastored for 30 years in that town. And when it was done, I remember having to have a very hard conversation with them because I took the church over there, but it's like nothing we tried there seemed to work. And I put a smoke machine on there, and the town's like, you're the Antichrist. I'm like, but it's just smoke. And I remember having a 15-minute conversation with them. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. You know, we came out of that because of my parents' faithfulness with 30 people that are still with us today. And we sold that building, and we took just under half of the price of that building, which is what we had left. And that was our cash injection to start this church here. It took us about 2 years to get solvent as a church to pay the bills, and I'll tell you some of the history of all of that. And then we started building our cash reserves and your generosity to get us into the building and then to the next building. But I remember it was 2015. Can we show that preaching picture of me? It was 2015. Look at that handsome guy. That's the last time I wore a suit jacket. Nobody can make me do that anymore. Show the next picture, actually. I want to show this one, too. This is, that's the day Neela got baptized in that building. And so you can imagine how hard it was when I had to have a talk with my parents about maybe moving. But December 2015, I was preaching a sermon about honor, about Jesus could do no mighty works there, which is Canada's problem, of course, is dishonoring society. And I remember preaching that sermon about Jesus could do no mighty works in his own hometown because they wouldn't honor him. They wouldn't honor that God had chosen him to speak there. And I walked out of town on Monday morning, and it's funny that Crystal said to me, I knew you were preaching that sermon to you, but I didn't see it at the time. I walked out of town Monday morning. I was so down and discouraged. Nothing we did there seemed to work. I walked out of town, and I'm like, if Jesus couldn't do it in his hometown, what am I doing? I'm not Jesus. Like, I was so discouraged, and God said to me one word. He said, go. I didn't know that meant Airdrie at the time. We happened to like Airdrie. I was thinking I'd rather go to Calgary because there's more people. Maybe it would be easier to build a church there. I know that that's probably not true anymore. But I wanted to live in Airdrie. In fact, we would go for lunch in Airdrie, and we wanted to raise kids here. We love our city. You guys like Airdrie? There's something about it that we just fell in love with, and I figured I could talk people into driving down the highway 30 minutes. It was actually 35 minutes, but 30 minutes sounds better. And so I told, when God told me that, I didn't talk to anybody except for Pastor Aaron and Kathy Jackson, who is with us today. You know, I had your name in my notes, and I was thinking of all the tough days that we had, you know. Thank you for believing in me. Somebody else want to do this? What a ride that was, though, you know. I wouldn't recommend it and wouldn't want to do it again, but it was worth it, you know. Thank you for all your help in getting us here. I talked to 5 or 6 of my pastor friends I'm still friends with today, and I said, you know, I think that God wants us to close the church here and to sell it and go. Well, nobody did it back then. Like, nobody did anything like that. We heard, like, you're crazy, but it's you, and God must have spoken to you, and we'll go with you if that's what you want to do. And I went and I talked to my parents. I had a 15-minute conversation with them. You imagine talking to my parents after 30 years and saying, like, thank you for your 30 years of service, but I feel like we need to go to Airdrie. And my mom says, would we still be doing church in this town? And I said, no. I said we would close it and we'd sell it. We would have to in order for this to succeed. And in 15 minutes, after 30 years of my parents being in the fire of pastoring in that town, after 30 years, my mom said to me, well, son, if that's what God told you to do, then you'd better do it. And we'll go with you and we'll help. And that's why we love Pastors Richard and Beth. 15 minutes to walk away from 30 years of their lives and be like, we did this to honor the Lord, and if that's what God told you to do, then we'll honor him and we'll follow. And I love seeing where my parents are at now in life. You know, they get to lead people to Jesus every week. And I asked my dad, maybe I've said this, but I've asked my dad like a few months ago, do you miss being in charge? And he goes, nobody hates me anymore. I do whatever I want. Well, they've earned it. 2016, I put a mixtape together on April Fool's Day with some songs, and I told about 30 people, I said, we're going to get in cars, we're going to go on a road trip. They're like, where are we going? And I'm like, I've carefully hidden clues in this mixtape. And as you're following me on the highway, I want you to listen to these songs and figure it out. It was April Fool's Day. There was no carefully hidden clues at all. I just put the songs in there because I like them, and I'm like, just follow me. Like, it's not. And it blew up Sean's mind over here. And we drove to Airdrie. Sean was like, where are the clues? I can't figure this out. I'm like, no, I was just messing with you. It's April Fool's Day. I asked Ben, actually, did you listen to that tape? He's like, no, I didn't listen to that tape. I'm like, well, whatever. We got there. We walked into the back of Burt Church Theater, a building in town that they said, you will never, this is my first conversation, you will never get a recurring booking with this building, so don't even ask for it. And I'm like, don't tell somebody like me that. I'm like, fine, I'll ask the Lord for it. And I went back to the Lord and I said, if you want us to start a church here, that's the building we need to be in, Father, and I'm asking for it. Well, he called me back a day or two later and he said, well, my boss just had a talk with me and said, you're not renting the building enough, so find somebody. So I guess that's you. They couldn't get their heads around morning services at the time, so we did evening services. We did 20 months of evening services at Burt Church Theater. But when we walked into it that day with about 30 people, and I'm going to get you to stand in just a minute, we walked into the back of that theater, and I said, in a year's time, we actually came a little bit sooner than that. In a year's time, we're going to be doing church here, but not there anymore. And there was like dead silence, and then everybody started cheering. It's like they'd been waiting to be asked to re-up, to recommit to, let's go do something great. You know, like this might crash and burn, but let's go see if God will be with us, we can do it. And they started cheering. It was an incredible moment for me. Another amazing moment was when Nassie was so excited, she ran down those stairs. She tried to make the jump onto the stairs, onto the stage, totally biffed it, wrecked her leg. She still got bruises. She's got prosthetic limbs now. I'm joking about that. Some kid's going to be like, I heard that you... No. An incredible story. So we came 9 years ago. As I call your name, would you stand to your feet? The Kope family. A lot of us are probably serving in different... Yeah, everyone else is serving. Oh, there she is. The Kope family, my mom and dad, obviously. The Canfields. The Fairs. Well, the Fairs. I think everybody's serving. Jen. Is Jen here? She was here in the other service. And Elaine with the kids. The Gibsons. Stand up. Don't be shy. Cassie and Jess. Probably serving. The Ordonezes. Ole. Have I missed anybody? I just want to... And Diana, Diana, there you are. And Ben and Mary came with us. Stephanie came with us, and Kathy Jackson. Maybe now's a good time to tell you it was crazy. We didn't have a great plan, but God was with us, and look what the Lord has done. Thank you for saying yes. If you hadn't said yes, none of the people here would be here. We're going to baptize over 350 people in this next baptism service. Not all at once, but yeah, like what? Yeah, like no. That's because you said yes to the Lord in your broken state. Thank you for saying that. You can have a seat. Man, it was tough though. Like Remember a week before we were going on vacation to Montana, and a week before that, I felt like the Lord said, sell your house now in the summer. And so Pastor Aaron and Crystal and Shannon cleaned that house and staged it. My dad finished up the tile work that I never got around to while we were gone. And it was just, yeah. I don't remember those times too much because I felt like the devil kind of had our family by the throat, and by kinda, I mean really. And that might be somebody's story here today. But the best thing about all of this is that this church saved our family too. And we're so grateful that God called us in the midst of that, and God healed us as we went. And some people, are like, man, you give so much. Do you ever feel like I'm like, the church has given us more than we'll ever give back to the Lord. Are you kidding me? We're so grateful that we just get to come here. 9 years ago, New Year's Eve, 2016, we had our grand opening. We have no idea how many people came because we forgot to count. But we think that there was probably just under 200 people, which for a launch was pretty great. We leveled out to about 100 people. We always had 100 people in church. I think only one time we dipped below that. I tried to do like a happy birthday service the first year on New Year's Eve, and it was minus 38, and nobody came. And I'm like, I'm never doing a New Year's Eve service again. I'm making a bitter judgment. I don't want healing from it. I'm just never going to do that again. But we leveled out to, after in the first fall, maybe about 115, 120 people. These are evening services. We did this for 20 months. Can I show that picture, some of these pictures here? I forgot this, that she would have to jump in and play bass. Sometimes Layden was our bass, kind of our main bass player, and then Canfield. Go to the next one. This is okay. So this here, like, look how clean this stage is, and we have like a million times more stuff. There it was like chords and chords, and I would be troubleshooting 4 different systems on before we were go time, because we were like set up tear down, and I'm in there like trying to fix stuff and plug stuff in and push buttons on soundboards. And it was a hot mess. I think we had like, was it an hour to get set up? 2. It was something crazy, and it was like so much work. I would have like 30 seconds sometimes to get in the green room and change my shirt and then run out, and then I would lead worship, 30-second bumper video while I dropped a guitar, come in and like try to preach, and it's like very different, like, and then like, get my guitar again, and then lead worship again. Layden and Sean and everybody was on triple shift all the time. We tried some things that were bad ideas, but the team still said yes because they love me. I thought that they had a kids space underneath that we would call the lab. You guys remember that? Who remembers walking down there the first time? So it was the cosmetics lab for the high school, because it's on Burt Church is on with the high school, they partner. And so you walk down there, and the first thing you'll notice is about like 20 severed mannequin heads all around the room. And I'm like, we can't put kids in here. We're going to scare the hell out of them. And I'm like, maybe we should have. Like, is this what you want? Come to Jesus. Go to heaven. There's no severed mannequin heads in heaven. You know what we did, though? This seemed like a good idea to me. Middle of winter. Walk them across the parking lot from Burt Church Theater to Genesis Place to those rooms on the corner there. This is how they did it. They would put the kids on a rope. And like, hang on to the rope, kids. Like, don't let go or we're going to lose you. And they would walk kids across there. That seemed like a good idea to me. We'd check them in, and then somebody's like, you remember that? And I'm like, no, I put that out of my mind because that was horribly dangerous. Show me some of those other pictures there. Have you gone through them while I was talking? Oh, look at how good you guys are. There's a pink pony in the back there. We're not sure what the story is there. Give us that picture of Amy. Still happy, still loving life, married to Layden somehow. Show the next picture. We did At the Movies. Guess who Forky is? Pastor Aaron. We had kids come to our house at Halloween. They're like, oh, Forky. You don't think that's funny? Oh, it was hilarious. I thought that was gangbusters. Give us that worship shot from there. Yeah, it looks full, but that's because we told our camera people to stand behind Dustin's head, apparently. They're like, make the room look full. It took a while to grow in that building as well, particularly with the evening services. We went to Ark Grow in Birmingham, which our group of churches is Ark now, but we weren't a part of Ark. And that is where we heard for the first time that you could build a church around the 4 pillars of human need, which you hear every week: know God, find freedom, discover your purpose, and make a difference. That was game-changing to our church. But we had to come back, and I remember talking to Pastor Aaron thinking, like, if this is real and that's true, we got to change everything. It's not like we hadn't like come a ways in that, but I'm like, we got to like pick, like if up front, if we're going to do it and we could actually build a church that meets human need. And so we came back and we changed everything. We changed the marketing about things. We just came back and just went, okay, sweep it, change it, let's go. We always kept the life saved is worth everything, which I've never heard a church that has a better catchphrase than that. That's still our thing. We came up with that. We were coaching a church one time, and then I noticed on their website that their catchphrase was also a life saved is worth everything. And I'm like, you know what? It's a good catchphrase. You can steal it. Who came in those first 20 months at Birth Church Theater? Who not who came with us, but stand to your feet if you started coming in those first 20 months of evening services. We have people that are probably serving. Well, yeah, you don't have to stand if you've already stood. Thank you. You can have a seat. I remember our first baptism service. Layton actually he was working in Calgary, and he was in a Tim Hortons parking lot, and he saw a guy with one arm, and he went up to him, and he's like, "You're in construction with one arm? That must be tough." And then he goes, "You want to come to my church?" So he came to the church with his extended family. 8 out of 9 of our first baptisms were that guy's family. Jack, the one-armed guy, who's a great guy. It was a random story. If you need a friend to come to church, sick Layton on him. Doesn't matter how many arms they have or don't have. You just invite anybody to church. Summer of 2017, the Warenkas came for a service, and then we had a team night in Drumheller. And I remember Scott sitting. I remember sitting there in those lawn chairs with Scott, and he was wearing dress shoes. And I'm like, who would wear dress shoes to a splash park? But he likes dress shoes. I just am remembering some of these moments. Birth Church Theater. It was a great building, but a little painful to rent for a number of reasons, mostly because it was run by the city. I love the city, but oh my goodness. We would come in there sometimes, and there would be popcorn, because the high school would share it, right? And so we'd have 4 people vacuuming for an hour to get the popcorn out of the theater. We'd be like racing to get the building ready to go. We always left it better than we found it. But then we get these emails from the staff like, we found 2 cupcake crumbs. And that's a problem for us. And I'm like, yeah, well, we found an entire theater full of popcorn that apparently you hadn't walked through. We had an adventure. We loved the building. Like, the building itself was great, but, I came in one time. Remember when they would make us do lobby services? So we'd have unplugged services in the lobby because they'd book the theater off for scheduled maintenance. And half the time, nobody was in there doing anything. And I'm like, why can't we be in there? You're not even doing anything in there. But they're like, well, it's blocked off for schedule. I'm like, you guys, I said in a meeting one time that I got uninvited from eventually by my own team. I'm like, do you guys say yes to anything? Because we think that we're renting it. So I feel like you think that you're the ones paying for this, but here we are. Can you guys say yes to something? That'd be great. And then my team's like, why don't you let us handle these in the future? They didn't like that, and then they started saying no more. Oh, man. There's so many stories about that, 2017, we baptized a bunch of people in my garage and took videos and then showed it in January because they wouldn't let us baptize people there. We can only do it in the loading dock outside, and you can't do that in December when it's freezing. It was so cold. And I remember it was so cold and there was so much humidity in my garage, I got deathly sick. And there was a spiritual war going on as people were coming to Christ nearly every day in that period. It was just happening there. And Aaron and I went to Mexico over Christmas that year because we couldn't get the theater, I think. And I'm like, let's go to Mexico. It took 9 days for the rattle to get out of my lungs. And Pastor Aaron is still suffering post-traumatic stress from leaving the kids over Christmas. It didn't affect me at all. I thought it was great. I'm like, this is great. The weather's nice. We baptized people, showed their videos, and then hit them with water guns because we weren't allowed to do anything else. It was hilarious, but it was like, so many people, I'm like, this is what we could do. But, I was doing the evening service. The vibe was really cool. People were coming to Jesus all the time. But then a friend of mine named Pastor Dan from, who you might know from Connect Church, I think he's preached here, and Pastor Nate Pacini, who you know, I talked to them, and they're like, you got to tell us about the evening services, because I'm like, well, I don't want to lose all the people coming to Jesus. And they said, you'll find that most unchurched people will go to church on a Sunday morning before a Sunday evening, because that's when they think church is. And I thought, oh, so Pastor Nate said, it's worth asking. And I'm like, they're never going to give it to us. They've already said they wouldn't give it to us, and all we hear is no. So I'm like, okay. So I called over to the theater. And I got that one gal who was great. She's like, you know what? Why don't you come over and look at the calendar? And I'm like, okay. So we drove right there, looked at the calendar, and in 2 weeks, our volunteer teams went from evening services to morning services, because it was August. And I'm like, okay, we got to go if we're going to go. And who came in, because we were there for 3 years total, 20 months. Who came in the morning services at Burt Church Theater? Who started coming then? You guys did? Rachel? Awesome. You guys can have a seat. Oh, that was incredible. April 2019, we had an Easter egg hunt. You guys remember that? We had pallets of chocolate. The mayor just sent me a text. He's not mayor anymore, but he's still the mayor of my heart. He was in the first service, and he sent me a text and said that there was a spike in child diabetes that year. Why are you laughing? That's not funny. I don't know if he's joking or not. I'm still waiting for him to get back to me. I'm like, are you kidding? So much chocolate. 5,000 people came out. I remember that was maybe the first service that the mayor ever came to, I think. And because we did a service at the same time, but then we had so many people come and check their kids in, thinking that the Easter eggs were in the theater, and then they walked in like, this is church, and then they went and got their kids out because it was in the field out back. So it was a little confusing, but we got them into church, whether they knew that was what they wanted to do or not. I remember Kim Fair. Is Kim sitting here? I remember Kim. She was in a field with the younger kids, probably 2,000 kids, and she was walking around like, Kim, I love you, but I don't know how you didn't know what was happening. She's like putting eggs on the ground. There's 2,000 kids starting to swarm. You watch zombie movies? They're just like, I'm like, they're going to eat her. They're hungry. Man, if she looks like an Easter egg, she's done. And so I'm like, the mayor and I were there. We didn't know each other at all. I just remember he goes, come on, Corey. He just grabs handfuls of eggs and just starts hucking them at the kids. 2019, in that summer, I think there was a new manager. He was pretty hostile to us. And I remember we were baptizing in the loading dock. We're just done the service with the videos, and we were just walking out to baptize. And Emerson comes into my green room, we're literally in, and he goes, that crazy manager is yelling at your people in the lobby when everybody's going past, like screaming at him. And I'm like, wow, there's Pastor Corey, and then there's Trades Corey. And I'm like, tag, I'm in. And I start walking over there, and I'm like, what? And by this time, our team had asked, Crystal was on that team, our team had asked, like, hey, if you're going to yell at us, can you just move us into the office? And so he's in there and his back is to me, and I can see one of the guys on my team through the glass door, and I'm coming in ready to go. And I'm good in a scrap. I'm little, but I'm vicious. And I'm like, he's screaming at people. He just had this thing in his head that I don't even know what he was upset about. But anyways, right in the middle, everybody's walking past the lobby, and I come in, and I just see my guy's hand go up like this. Like stop sign. And I'm like, okay. I just turned around and went outside and baptized people. It was probably good. I could feel in my spirit, though, that we're going to lose that building. We got an email saying the cost of the lighting package is going to go up by 4 times next month. But we already had a contract signed with the cost of the lighting in there, and so I'm like, well, you broke the contract, and it's also not ethical to do that. So we started looking. We walked into Footprints here with the owners of the starters of Footprints, Joel and Lauren Town, who are great people. And we walked through the building. Now, it was a step from this beautiful, $12 million building into an elementary school with orange and blue and lockers, and it was a hot mess. I don't know who painted those lockers, but I'm like, the colors don't work. Nothing in here works, so we had to work really hard on the atmosphere. We walk into there, and we're walking around with them, and I'm like, can we do this? And they're like, yeah. Can we do this? Yeah. And I'm like, what's this word I'm hearing? Like, I like hearing yes. Like, sure, can we store some stuff? Yeah. Like, sure. We don't care. And it was great. It started a partnership with us. In fact, that gym, when we don't have it secured for kids, go in there, because that's where we used to do church. So 6 years ago, that's where we moved. Maybe about 150 people came with us. We discovered the magic of sitting one, serving one, of 2 services, which has been an incredible thing to us. Seemed like a step back until COVID hit. But can we show the office video of that? This was.
Tell me how much you love your office.
This is probably like, if I could envision an office, I would just add more unicorns. But this is basically what I'm looking for right here. So when we build the new place, I've sent pictures to Crystal, and I want it exactly like this, with all this old Triscuits. Yeah. A must.
Lost and found lunch food?
Lost and found, yeah. I want it all in my office. And boxes, paint cans. Let's do paint. While we're doing it, let's do paint cans. Yeah, 100%.
Coffee maker?
No, I approve of all of this. Garage storage. Yeah, I want it all. And toilet paper. Yeah, giant things of toilet paper.
It's like the pandemic is back.
And a baptism hose running through the middle. That's what I want. I'm taking a little bit of time with this one, but I don't know. It's kind of story time this morning. Who came in Footprints? Who started coming? Just stand to your feet quickly. Stand to your feet quickly. Your first time was in Footprints, probably during COVID, eh? Yeah. Oh, man, I miss wearing a mask every day. That was Footprints. My heart was set on a building in town that ended up falling through. And then in that same week, I was almost just like, why don't we just go look at this building over here? And that's when we actually built that building out. About 200 people built that building with the 5 bays, and we had to expand next door into Elevanca for kid space. What is floating down from the ceiling? Okay. 3 years ago, we built that space. We went in there with about 200 people. We went on a Sunday morning to about 800 people in that building. Who started coming during that when we were in our first owned building? Could you stand to your feet when we were there? Come on, you guys. Man, that's awesome. Look around. I love it. You can have a seat. That was incredible. The city held me up there for 5 months over parking. And I was so mad at the city for 5 months, and then we outgrew the parking in about 3 months. And I'm like, ooh, it was a prophetic sign from the Lord that we outgrew that parking. And then we had to use our partnership here to park here as well. And so God sort of saw all of that coming. Then this building came up for sale, and we thought, we could do church for another 1,000 people on a Sunday for the cost of 3 Airdrie houses only. And we just thought, we've got to do this. It was a bit early for us, but you had faith. We developed the Kingdom Builders team. We just had a Kingdom Builders event on Friday night. That's been incredible, and the Kingdom Builders got behind it, and you got behind this building. And we did a grand opening here about 4 months ago. If you started coming to church in this building, could you stand to your feet? We just want to welcome you. If you started in this building, there you go. Welcome. We are so glad you guys are here. Awesome. I want to give you a challenge because this isn't our last building. In fact, I just ran it out to the Kingdom Builders. I'm like, we could probably stop here. I just turned 50. I'm old. We could probably stop here, but what we can't do is stop here because we think that the next generation is the revival generation. And we think that the next project that we're going to build, I think this building is going to fit into the hallway of the next one that we're going to build because we are concerned about the next generation in Canada, and we think that we could be the foundation under which they jump off of so that one day I see a venue church in every major city in the nation, and it's going to happen, and maybe I'll get to see it in my lifetime, but if not, I'm going to support my kids' generation and the next generation, and we're going to build something great so that the name of the Lord is never forgotten in our nation again. That is what we came here to be a part of. But just do something for me right now. We went, just close your eyes. We came with 30 dedicated people. We're at like 1,100 people on a Sunday morning now. We didn't come here to build a big church. I want you to think of the person that you love the most who needs Jesus the most. It might be your son, Might be your husband, might be a friend. Our vision coming here wasn't to build a big church. Our vision was to reach that person. And the cost was extremely high for us when we came. But a life saved is worth everything. To us. And today is the day when I want to invite you and ask you, what's it worth to you? Because if you say yes today and that life becomes worth everything, maybe God would grant them repentance. Maybe God would change their heart. Maybe God would give them an opportunity, one opportunity to come to Jesus. God needs your yes to reach them. We've said yes, and we continue to say yes. We were so broken. But God's healed us as we went. You can open your eyes. Thanks for being patient. Again, our services are still like 65 minutes today. My hairdresser, his name is Louis. And I sent him a message about a month ago, and I had to go someplace else, and I don't like going someplace else to get my hair cut. But he said we had a family emergency. So I won't be back until this date. And so I sent him a message on Thursday and said, the family emergency, are you okay? And I went in on Friday morning. It was just me and him in the salon. And he told me a story. He said, we went back, my mom and dad, his parents are in their 60s. We went back to Lebanon, to our hometown. He said, I had a bad feeling about it. We sat on the runway in Calgary for 3 hours with problems with the plane. He's like, I had a bad feeling about it the whole time, but Dad still wanted to go. And he said, we had a great vacation there. We were coming back to our hometown. We had just gone down as a family, as his mom and dad and him in a car. And we're coming back, and he said, a guy runs into us in the back, and my mom was sleeping in the back of the car. And we rolled into the ditch, and she was trying to get up in the back, and ambulance came, and she was in ICU for 3 days. We thought she was getting better. And then it started getting worse. He said I could only be in there for half an hour periods of time. And my mom said, it's okay if I go. And I love you. And he's crying and I'm crying because my mom lives a half a block away from there. Different nation, different religion. And I knew in that moment why I started going there to get my hair cut those years ago. You're not in your school for no reason. You're not at your job for no reason. You're not in your circle of friends for no reason. There will come a moment in a person's life when they need Jesus the most. And I said, do you mind if I pray for you? He knows I'm a Christian pastor. Do you mind if I pray for you? He's like, please pray for me. And I told him, you don't have to tell me any of your story, but he needed to tell somebody. And I prayed for him. I released him from the guilt of like, yeah, if only we hadn't gone. I'm like, it's okay. You got to let it go. You got to let it go. God is a forgiving God. I've had times when I haven't listened to that voice. You got to let it go. I sent him a gift, just a little gift from Venue Church, saying, hey, I'm sorry about your mom. I just want you to know that we're thinking about you because we do church right. And I wanted him to see, I told Renee, make sure the website is at the bottom because the only hope for this world is Jesus. And his only hope is you. And I want to invite you into the story of the people who have said yes. Every stage along the way, the 30 still got to re-up, and we got to be like, whoo, God wants what? Wow, we haven't said no yet. So, and God has been good, and look what the Lord has done in 9 years. I want to tell you, the next 9 years, all we're building is a foundation for what God is going to do in the next 9 years. You wouldn't believe it if I told you what I could see and what I could feel. But God is going to do it, and God is looking for a vessel to use. Will it be you? Is a life saved worth everything to you? Deuteronomy 6 says this, in the future your children will ask you, what is the meaning of these laws, decrees, and regulations that the Lord our God has commanded us to obey? Then you must tell them, we were Pharaoh's slaves in Egypt, but the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a strong hand. Pastor Aaron and I got to bring our legacy gift to the house of God. Sometimes when we did that when our kids were young, now our kids do the same. And when our kids were young, they'd be like, how much, Dad? How much are you guys going to give? I'm like, there was a day we had nothing. Except for the Lord intervened. The Lord saved us. And the Lord healed our family. The Lord healed our trauma and forgave us. We had nothing. But the Lord rescued us from Pharaoh in Egypt. We will not forget the Lord our God. Heavenly Father, we come to you right now and we thank you that the Lord has intervened in the sinful world by sending his own son Jesus to die on a cross for our sins. If you need to come to Jesus today, repeat this after me. Venue, let's help them. Jesus, forgive me of my sins. Cleanse me of my unrighteousness. Adopt me into this family. Be my Lord and Savior. Amen. We'll give you instructions what to do in a moment.